defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Let's go. We're back again. The duo you didn't know you needed to have, man. Alex, what are you saying, man? Better yet, the different knock. Make sure you're following on all the platforms. Great content, mate. What are you telling me, my guy?
Also, best intro music in the game.
Thank you, man. I love that. I love that.
So good. I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. Where are you? I see you as pictured on a beach somewhere. I see it looks like different surroundings.
I was with, do you know Faisal?
Yeah, man. Big him up, man. Of course we know about him. Latte firm and all of that.
I was saying he should get you on the. Have you been on Latte firm?
I think once, we're due to do it again, man. He's good peoples, man. He make another one who makes good content. I can't imagine you're not following him, people, but make sure you are, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, he was on holiday. I'm in Bournemouth, which is where I'm from, and he's on a holiday. So I was like, we should meet up. So we did. It was really nice. He's a top guy. Really, really nice guy.
Like you said, he's a top guy, man. Obviously, we're both Arsenal fans. If people didn't know, there'd be issues. I want to kick this off with my first thing for you. Obviously, by now, I'm sure you've obviously seen the Nuremberg game. I'm sure you got your thoughts. So what did you make of it? If you can read too much into a first preseason game, second better yet.
Yeah. I think there's the camp of like, don't read anything into it. It's just preseason. It's just fitness, which I think is slightly outdated now. And there's people who like, someone moves into a different position and they freak out and they're like, that's it, that's sorted. I just think you've got to try and find a balance somewhere. There are things to read into it and there are certain things that are just preseason. I think more, before I speak about the game specifically, like Mikel Arteta, I honestly, genuinely, I know the new kit's come out today, which we might even discuss. But
yeah, I've bought it. It's atrocious, man. Yeah, man, they got me. I love my club. They got me, man. They got me.
Listen to that sentence, everyone. It's atrocious, but I bought it.
Yeah,
that is how obsessed this man is with Arsenal. I love to see it. Love to see it. But yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if that was like genuinely. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a marginal gain thing from Mikel. There's a whole thing about like bright colours. I wouldn't even be surprised if that happened. Genuinely. So if we're getting to a point where we're buying dogs and we're like planting olive trees and like making our kits more yellow for like these
fine margins, man,
marginal gains. Come on, preseason is going to be a consideration. There's going to be things that we can take from it. So yeah, I think the Nuremberg game was interesting. I obviously like there was some standout performances from like Lewis Skelly and Waneri and stuff. I think what we're beginning to see, and perhaps something we can discuss, and something that I've got a video coming out on later. Plug is essentially a tactical shift from next season. I think we're going to see, because of the signing of Declan Rice, and because ultimately he is the best ball winner in world football, and I'll do what I normally do on these streams, and I'll send you a little
let's go, man. Tab police, look away now in advance.
If you the tab police. Actually, no, tell you what, go on, do you know Aaron Catterson-Reed at Read the Game?
Say that again. Aaron
Catterson-Reed, Read the Game. Actually, I'll link it to you, don't worry. So basically, Aaron Catterson-Reed put together this thing, which I'll put in our little chat.
It made my life easier.
He put together recoveries and interceptions in the Premier League. So he put together like a sort of graphic that hopefully you can get on the screen in a second. And just have a look where Declan Rice is on this screen.
Let's see. Take it away, man.
So look where Rice is and look where Rodri is. This is a guy who is not only like an elite level midfielder, I would say probably the best in the world at specific things in the midfield in terms of recovering the ball and intercepting the ball. So when you have that level of quality in your midfield, what does it allow you to do? It probably allows you with your 2-8s to give them a bit more of a
gamble higher up the field.
Exactly. So I think we're going to start to see them drifting out to the wide areas. I think we're going to start to see them rotating with our wide options because, like, if you think about it, last season, Saka and Martinelli did best when they came into lanes 2 and 4. So we're going to start to see our 8s further out wide.
Allowing them to stay in that half space a bit more, man.
Exactly. And I think, so like, for example, last season, obviously we saw those rotations on the right-hand side a bit more and Xhaka was a bit more straight lines. But I think what we'll see this season is our left eights in a more free role, which we started to see the other night with Trossard dropping out in the build-up into more of a 3-3 in build-up, actually. And then he's got a bit more of a free role and allowed Nelson to stay inside. And we saw that on the other side with Vieira.
Sorry to cut you, but it's funny that you said that before I let you carry on, because that's the only real thing that I took away from the Nuremberg game. I agree with your point earlier about you can't disregard preseason. You can't read too much into it. It's all a balance. But at times you saw Trossard and Fabio Vieira when we're playing out from the back more when Ramsdale was on the pitch, kind of take up the wide areas to allow Saka and Cole to stay further in. So you're right on that, man. But I cut you off. Go on, my guy.
No. It's you're right to say it, because it's ultimately there's a freer role for those guys, and I think that's the one thing I took from the Nuremberg game is that I think we'll just see more and more of that. Basically the attacking rotations being a little bit more like I suppose the way I'd put it is, if Saka was the one doing the cutback 6 times out of 10 last season, Saka will be the one receiving the cutback 6 times out of 10 this season, if that makes sense. I think we'll see the eights drifting wide a bit more. So that's tactically all I really took from it. And then obviously we had the performance of Kivior, which was good to see.
Good game.
Yeah, good game. Coming into midfield, which I didn't know he had in his locker. And then obviously, as I mentioned, Wanyeri and Lewis Kelly. So yeah, not loads, but enough encouragement, I think.
Yeah, like you said, man, you can't read too much into it, but I think it's a building block. And you saw however people paint the picture of how our season, was last season. A big reason as to why we even got into the debate of the title race is because we had a great preseason. We've bringing in signings in early. We've letting them gel in with Arteta, ultimately hitting the ground running. The only thing I would say on this graphic is that I do probably expect Rice and Rodri to be slightly more aligned if we were to look at this a year from now, because obviously Rice was at West Ham. They're probably going to be in a dogfight slightly more than Rodri, but it's like you said, really and truly, man. Rice is a quality signing, and I don't want to overrate him or overstate it. And I'm not saying he's in the same caliber of Patrick Vieira, but I genuinely think Declan Rice is probably our most important signing of the Emirates era if we're going to now be a title challenger. There's shades of Petit, there's shades of potentially a white Patrick Vieira. If we were ever close to replacing Patrick, which we needed to do many years ago, it is Mr. Declan Rice, man. And I think I speak for you when simply put, he transforms our midfield in multiple ways: the leadership, the experience, the ball winning, the ball carrying, which, as you said, with the rotating eights is going to be ridiculous. And it kind of draws me on to my next question. Like, I didn't have this planned, but obviously, for me personally, I think we're a midfielder short. We don't know what's going to happen with Partey. But when you look at it, Fabio Vieira has played as an 8 and a 10. You've got Smith Rowe, who allegedly is more training in the 8 role. We've obviously got Odegaard, who's an 8.5. Kai Havertz has just come in. Do you think we'll bring in another central midfielder then? Because I think we should. Maybe another 6 if Rice isn't there. But when I look at it, there's probably more options that Mikel Arteta sees in the midfield than we might give it credit for. Again, Zinchenko hasn't organically started in midfield, but to aid the agenda, you could throw his name into that hat as well.
Yeah. Looking at our midfielders now. So who we got? Partey, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Jorginho, Vieira. Oh yeah.
I know you don't want to include him, but
Sambi, Kai, and Declan Rice. I think right now, also considering we got Wanyeri and Lewis Kelly on that list as well, somewhere in and around it. I think that's enough. I think the only thing that I could see happening is like us signing like a project, possibly someone who comes in and has minutes. But then also, if you,
I love you.
Well, exactly.
Hopefully.
I think the only thing that would change my mind is if we sold Partey. I think the big question every Arsenal fan needs to ask themselves is this: is it better? So you've got 2 choices: to get £40 million and not have Partey, or have Partey for 2 more seasons. And to me, Arsenal are stronger if we have Partey for the next 2 seasons. Now, if that £40 million or even £50 million can be reinvested straight away into a Caicedo level or a Tchouameni or a Camavinga or whatever your personal preference is, or whatever ultimately Arteta's preference is, then maybe you do that. But I think with the Partey thing, like I understand supposedly he's leaning towards an exit and stuff, and he probably sees himself threatened in the midfield. But I think there's going to be so many minutes and so many games, and I think to see him leave next summer for 20, 15 million, I wouldn't mind to get through this season to establish Rice, etc., etc. I've always been worried about Xhaka and Partey leaving. I think, I'm not worried about it if we don't do anything else in the midfield, because I think we have enough. I think like in the right 8, you've got obviously Odegaard. I think Havertz will spend time in there. I think you can see Smith Rowe there. You can see Vieira there. You can see Wanyeri there. On the left 8, you've got the options on that side as well. And in the 6, you've got Jorginho, Partey, Rice, and El Neni, and Lewis Kelly. There's a lot of depth there and a lot of quality there. So really only, I don't think we need anything, maybe a project, but even then you have to consider, is that stepping on the toes of a Lewis Kelly or someone? So for me, no. But if we get a great deal for Partey and we know we can get something else in, I would probably do that.
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think in relation to Ethan and Miles, obviously I want to see them playing things, but if we're immediately targeting Premier League football, they're probably a bit irrelevant for it, so I'll disregard them. If you could bring me a number 6, even with regardless of what Partey is, maybe I'm being spoiled, but I would like that because I do like Jorginho. He's just more of a cultural 6 than the tenacious 6. El Nene is good for a couple of games a season, and there was, if there's an offer placed at the feet of Arsenal and they let El Nene go, fine, but I think he could have been afforded to stay for another year. I do think me and you will be sat here a year from now probably talking about central midfielders. Just because you're turning the wrong side of 30 doesn't mean I think you need to get rid of you. But as you just alluded to, Partey is a very technical case that we're going to have to, analyze when the time comes. I don't think Jorginho will probably be here next season, well, the season after next. And if he is, probably a marginalized role. Respectfully to El Nene, the way we're going as a club, it's probably a myth. And yeah, I just think we need another player. And that takes me to this. Before I ask you specifically about Kai Havertz, what do you make of Rice and Partey potentially playing together? Because admittedly, I do want to see a bit more going forward, but I think people underestimate what Declan Rice could do in the opposition's half. They do the same with Partey. If we was to kick off in the Premier League today, as much as I'm personally intrigued about seeing what Havertz could do, for example, bro, I would probably start Rice, Partey, and Odegaard in front of them. And it's like you said, I do think specifically Arsenal fans, they like to have it two ways. We always scream about depth, and you would have thought last season would have displayed that. Then every player who isn't necessarily playing or isn't flavour of the month, their days are numbered. So where are you at with that?
Well, I don't know whether it needs to be this or that. I think it can be both. I think there's certain games, where we might even see Jorginho, Rice, Odegaard. For example, like in a Newcastle game, because you've got the physicality. You've got to go to St James's Park. You've got to get a result. Remember Jorginho,
and you've got to assert yourself on the ball as well. So you're right,
mate. You remember Jorginho's performance? That man was not phased. Like he just received it under pressure, could get it out. And if you think you want that in your midfield that day, go for it. If you think that, in a big Champions League game at home, you want to just see it all out, kind of, go for it, get Partey, get that ball
trenches
going. If you don't think you're going to be defending much, maybe even take Rice out because you've got a big game at the weekend. Who knows? It depends, So I think
just need different options.
Yeah, I think so. And you look at let's say Man City they're always the benchmark, aren't they? Right? Like Rodri is kind of their base, and they pretty much would always play. And then in front of him, you had largely Gundogan and De Bruyne towards the end of the season. But there was times when it was Foden. There was times when it was other dude. Can't remember his name now. Who's the Man City midfielder I'm thinking of? Main Man City midfielders.
They've got so many, man. You've got Rodri, you've got Bernardo Silva, you've got Gundogan. There you have it. Silva.
So it kind of depends. And then he went out to the right hand side. So it just depends what you're facing and what's working at the moment in the team. And we're going to have games where it's not necessarily that we need to change it every single week and every single thing needs a new. But
there'll be some games you got to be a bit cute and clever.
Exactly. So I think this idea of a first 11 is dead. I think say that again, please, because that's something I'm so passionate about, because I think people, as you just mentioned, Manchester City as a benchmark. Obviously, if you're playing out of your skin, or you're a Haaland, you're a Rodri, you're evidently indispensable, probably Diaz, you'll always play. But it's all about a collective squad. Even when Zinchenko and Jesus were at City, they were marginalized players. You saw towards the end of the season how they helped them win the Premier League that year. So that is the comment of the live stream, really, because fans don't understand this. Like, they want a squad and they want depth, and then we cry about the person that's not involved. If we rotated the team every week and gave everyone a game, we wouldn't have had the season we had, because the players wouldn't be building relationships and things. And fundamentally, as much as I like the fact of it's a family and things, we're not here to be friends. We're here to win games. The best players go out there. If there's someone levels with Saka or better, I'm sure Arteta would like to rest him. Obviously, he needs to be cute and clever, but Saka, for example, helps us win games, and that's the sort of stuff we've got to do. So you're right in that regards, man. Comment to the live stream so far. That's the first 11's dead. There's your title. But you
know what? You're right. Still, that reminds me. Yeah, you're right. Still, he's a low rounder, folks.
Get the thumbnail. I just think, like, you also look at the players that Arteta's signing. Rice can play 6. Rice can probably even play centre back, and he can also play left 8. Kai Havertz could probably play in both of the 8 positions. You could even start him at false 9. You could probably even float him out wide. Yuri Timber, he could play in the middle. He could play on the exterior.
He said he could play in midfield as well himself. In the Arsenal interview, he said I could play in midfield. So Arteta's horny about that, man. 100%.
And the reason you do that, in my opinion, is because then you don't have to. You can have a first 15, 16. It's partly why I'm like. I got asked the question the other day about who's the first person in the current Arsenal first team to leave, as in the first 11. And I said Zinchenko. And it's not because Zinchenko's not a good player. Zinchenko's a very, 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 very good player. In fact, I would say in that inverted left back role, he might be the best in the world. He might be in that specific role. But that's his superpower. He can't really sit in for you in a game and be that kind of centre-backy fullback. He can't shift into central.
He's never going to be known for great 1v1 defensive duties because it weren't him really. He's been converted into a left-back. He's a centre-mid by trade, essentially. You're right.
Yeah, and I don't think you see him as central midfield. I don't think you see him as an overlapping fullback. I don't think you see him as a centre-backy left-back. He's quite specific. And that's not his fault. It's just what he's good at. And
it's just what he is.
As the team evolves, I just think we're going to see us moving away from players being one thing, because you're going to see even in a game, they're going to say, right, Kivior, what we need for this period of the game is I need you to sit in as a third centre back and let White go on the other side. Now, Kivior, I want you as your traditional left back because we're dealing with a right winger who's just come on. Now, Kivior, I need you to step into the midfield and add some progression. The ability to add that variety to your game, that's what we're going to see. And we're going to be talking about first 15s. We're going to be talking about minutes. We're going to be talking about all that sort of stuff. The first 11, the starts, the whatever, that's dead. It's gone because you can't compete with Man City when they've got another whole squad. They've got another team to come on. So you have to adapt.
Guys like Alvarez, you forget, are at Man City. He'd work respectfully to everyone at Arsenal. He'd work wonders for us and give us a new dimension. Even the 2 lads that Gabriel Jesus and the man you was just on about with Zinchenko. And you're right, really, with multifunctional players. You know, the Zinchenkos, the Timbers, technically Jesus. You could even extend that. I know he's more conservative and he needs to stay fit, but Tomiyasu can play all across the back 4. You said Kiwior as well. And for me, I'm not going to act like Arsenal have never had that because we have. But the difference is these players can do their primary role and more. So you're speaking facts. Obviously, we're on this topic, and probably more than Balogun off the aftermath of the Nuremberg game. Havertz, a lot of conclusions drawn on 45 minutes of football. What did you make of that? Where do you make of it? What do you think of? I don't want to say gamble because I don't think this is a gamble, rightly or wrongly, from Mikel Arteta. They don't make snap decisions. They've obviously been careful in their analysis of signing Kai Havertz. But to our ignorant fans, where are you at with Havertz? Do you think it will work? Do you have any concerns? Yeah, what did you make of his 45 minutes as well, man?
Our ignorant fans. Our fans are beautiful, my friend. They're never wrong and they're never annoying on social media.
Amen.
I'm just going to share something. Can I share my screen?
Go on, let's see if it works.
Share screen.
No pressure. Make sure it works.
Window. Here we are. There we go. Can you see that?
There we go.
Yeah. So this is what I believe to be Havertz's best positions. So he's been often playing in here in the sort of 9.
Chelsea last year, isn't it? Yeah.
Problem because he hasn't got any. He's not your final action guy. Broadly speaking, he can do it, but it's not his biggest strength. His biggest qualities are in these areas,
in the channels, especially that right hand side, like his Leverkusen days.
Yeah. So that's a specific thing that I think Havertz. I just wanted to sort of have that as a visual. I think people are gonna. Do you remember how, with Mesut Ozil, people would sort of, if we had a bad game, or whatever, people just go, oh, it's Ozil, he's lazy, or whatever. There's a sort of scapegoating thing to it because what he does it's not very bombastic. It's not
talisman stuff. He's not going to get you 20 goals, 20 assists. He's not going to dance past a million players. But he's one of them players where if you watch the game again, you might change your opinion on what you rated the first 90 minutes, essentially.
Exactly. That's basically it. Yeah. I just think Havertz is going to be one of those players who sit weirdly similar to Xhaka in the sense that he's almost going to be like what's that thing in a thermometer? Mercury. As the team gets better, Havertz will get better, and if the team's playing terrible, Havertz will be terrible. He's kind of going to be the thermometer of the team because
Mercury poisonous. I don't know if that's the best of examples.
But I just think he's he is not, he's not your final action guy. He's going to be able to float into certain areas. He's going to be able to, he's just, you know, you look at his running numbers. He's going to be he's going to create space. He's going to, if you watch an attack, if you watch all of Arsenal's attacks and just watch Havertz, you'll be like, oh, he created that space there. Oh, he created that space there. Oh, he made that pass there. Oh, if Havertz
very intelligent player.
Exactly, very intelligent player. But I think what will happen is people will watch him and be going, "Where's the goals? What's that meme? Where's the goals, my brother?" Or something like. Come on, where's this coming from? I think he's a footballer's footballer. He's a coach's footballer. He's someone who coaches and people in the game appreciate and understand. But fans will, I think, take a while to warm to him before there's some moments, basically. So,
gun to your head, we're starting our Premier League season today. For all you said about Havertz, and for what it's worth, I agree with you with the last two videos we've done. But you've got the option of Martin Odegaard, Kai Havertz, and either Rice or Partey, or option B, Rice, Partey, Odegaard. Premier League is starting today, in fact, in a matter of minutes. What option are you going with? No pressure.
That's hard. I think ultimately Mikel will go. You're asking me.
Not Mikel, you, mate.
I would go with Havertz. I would go with Havertz because I think what we're going to have been working on in the midfield, and Ornstein confirmed it in his article, those signings are linked. Rice and Havertz, they're linked, and I would go Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, because, and I'm not saying it will work straight away, but I think the once they understand each other in that sort of front five, once we can properly attack with the front five, once
it gels.
Say again.
Once it gels.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, like once that front five understand each other, they understand each other's rotations. Havertz can fill in the false nine. Havertz can drift out to the left to allow Martinelli inside. Havertz and Odegaard can swap. Once those movements and patterns and they begin to understand each other, we are going to be absolutely flames, mate. But it just might take a little bit of time. I still think they're talented enough players to win that first Premier League game. I just think it might take a little while for us to get there. And I think the solidity that Rice gives you means that if you, for example, the other option would be maybe to play with Partey in the 6 and Rice at the 8. Rice is better than Xhaka. Not sure that's a controversial statement, but I think the bigger payoff will be eventually from allowing Partey to drop out, Rice to really anchor the team, and then giving Havertz and Odegaard that freedom. And I think eventually that will pay off. And I would start it because I think you've got to let it build.
I'm with you in the sense of, option A, in that, clearly that's what Mikel Arteta wants to do. Long term, short term, medium term, it's going to be Rice, Havertz and Odegaard, or variations, or that might be the primary trio. So I'm all for it. Obviously, I'm not privy to seeing just exactly how it's going to gel in pre-season beyond the games and stuff. But, if it is taking longer than expected, and as you mentioned with Arteta, he did urge time. If we were starting the Premier League today, personally, just to grab 3 points, I agree with your thing about, they should be able to get the job done. I'd probably go Rice and Partey, really, just because I've been so starved of physicality in my midfield, and you've just got two dogs in there in the nicest way. But I agree with what you said about Havertz. I think I'm a firm believer of intelligent players can always gel with intelligent players, and there's obviously going to be Arteta's not stupid. He knows there's going to be a degree of criticism. He knows there's going to be teething issues. Obviously, Declan Rice, when you've been signed for 105 million, you're going to be the talking point, as is Timber for his money. But Havertz is the poster boy. Signings like Havertz are going to make or break Arteta's time at Arsenal, and I think he's shown, whether it be Aubameyang, reintegrating Xhaka and reforming Xhaka, signing Odegaard permanently off the back of the loan spell. He's got them right. The only one I think he's got wrong is probably Willian and Cedric and probably Pablo Maria at the time. So his difficult decisions have paid off. So I'd rock with it. I just think fans need to forgive Havertz for his Chelsea ties. Obviously, praise and critique where appropriate, but just give the man time. And me, I'm waiting for a fully fit Smith Rowe so I could start to throw him into the